In episode 1 of this analysis, I reported on the elongated skulls phenomenon, particularly on the skulls found in Paracas, Peru, and the preliminary results of the DNA testing being conducted on them. In that episode, I hypothesized that the irregular shape and size of some of these skulls could not be achieved by any artificial means, such as cradle boarding or cranial deformation, but rather could only be the result of organic genetic variation. In other words, that the elongated skull peoples were not and are not fully human, but a hybrid human-like species very distinct from Homo sapiens. This episode will continue that narrative, since new evidence has recently been unearthed to further prove my hypothesis. Remarkably, this new evidence is emerging out of the sands of the Atacama Desert, the very desert where the 6-inch Atacama humanoid was found, which was the subject of a previous analysis. The discovery occurred in the Tambo River Delta, in the northern region of the Atacama Desert, on the southern border of Peru, when a team of archaeologists from diverse international universities working together in a cooperative designated Project Tambo found 150 mummies buried beneath the sand, many of which exhibited elongated skulls. The discovery is somewhat ironic since, according to their website, the work of Project Tambo is intended to present an analysis of human settlement in southern Peru in the context of climatic and environmental change in the basin of the Tambo, starting from the late Pleistocene until the modern age. In truth, what they have unwittingly unearthed is not a record of human settlement, but further evidence of the proliferation of an unidentified alternate humanoid species whose remains are turning up all over the globe. Though archaeologists working with Project Tambo began excavating in the Delta in 2008, this most significant discovery was only recently made in March of this year, 2014, and has just begun to circulate in the press. On the 3rd of July, the International Business Times reported, a team of archaeologists from universities in Poland, Peru, and Colombia have discovered 150 mummies in the Atacama Desert, belonging to an unknown culture that predate the Tiwanaku and Inca civilization by almost 500 years. The bodies were mummified naturally by being buried directly in the sand with no stone structures, wrapped in cotton veils, reed mats, or fishing nets, and radiocarbon dating shows that the oldest mummies came from the 4th century AD, while the youngest mummies came from the 7th century AD. The story seems innocuous enough at first, until one reviews the photos associated with it, photos which reveal the true nature of the discovery. It is apparent that the phenotypes of many of the mummies are not consistent with ordinary human genetics. Something very strange had obviously made its way into their gene pool. This is verified by the unusual shape and size of some of their facial bone structures and craniums. One of the mummies in particular is exceedingly bizarre. Its body is curled up around the base of an enormous elongated skull, one of the most extreme cases photographed to date. The Tambo Delta skeletal remains are reminiscent of the ones unearthed at an ancient burial site in Sonora, Mexico in 2012, 13 of which had very similar articulated facial bone structures and elongated skulls. One might even deduce that they are of the same tribe and the same hybrid species. Of course, as in all of these cases, the elongated skulls of the Tambo Delta mummies, even the most exotic specimens, are being attributed to cranial deformation, even before their genomes have been sequenced to confirm that they are even human. But the real enigma surrounding the Tambo Delta mummies and the ones unearthed in Mexico in 2012 are the results of the radiocarbon dating conducted on them. If the dates reported in the International Business Times article are in fact correct, then this strange race of humanoid was thriving in the most arid desert on the planet during the early Middle Ages, and probably long after. According to Time, in an article published in December of 2012, the skeletal remains of the elongated skull specimens from Sonora, Mexico, were dated from 945 AD to 1308 AD. This is a highly significant point that is often overlooked. These entities are not archaic relics from a distant, ambiguous past, but were walking the earth during the time of the Crusades, when European knights were fighting for possession of the Holy Land. As stated in the first episode of this analysis, the preliminary DNA testing of the Paracas elongated skulls is beginning to prove empirically that an alternate hybrid race of Homo sapiens once thrived in diverse locations across the globe in the not-too-distant past. The question arises, where on earth did they go? We reviewed in the previous analysis on this topic the testimony of former World Bank Senior Council member Karen Hudes, who made the extraordinary claim that members of this alternate humanoid species are actually alive and hiding in the Vatican. In 1928, Julio Tello, the famous Peruvian archaeologist, was the first to excavate the Paracas Peninsula in Peru and unearth the now famous Paracas elongated skulls. While excavating a massive graveyard in the area where many of the skulls were discovered, he inadvertently uncovered the sand-filled remains of an extensive subterranean village stretching out for approximately 2 kilometers. Could it be that the civilizations of the elongated skull peoples were primarily subterranean? Could it be that some of them still exist to this day in uncharted regions beneath the surface of the earth? I have a hunch that certain agencies of our government know the answer to that question. Reporting for SteveQuayle.com, I'm Timothy Alberino, and that's my analysis.